Hello and welcome to the 2023 student elections. Hooray! Um, Now, before we start, I'm going to have to read out a statement of respect. NUSU welcomes all Newcastle University students to the 2023 election debates organised and broadcast by the NUSU student media. Our priority is to facilitate a fair and democratic election, and we believe in the freedom of speech and the right for all students to express their views. However, we do not tolerate any discrimination or harassment of any kind. We ask you that at all times you treat fellow students, colleagues and staff with respect. Anyone displaying rude, aggressive or inappropriate behaviour will be within the question submission form or in the room will be immediately removed and will be unable to play an active role in future debates or in this related to the 2023 student elections. Thank you for coming. Important question, do you like my hat? Yeah, okay, sick. So I'm Maria Pace, I'll be your presenter for today. Candidates, if you are going to introduce yourself, please use pronouns, and you do not need to repeat any questions because we'll have them on the screen. And all questions have been submitted, pre-submitted through a form, and there'll be no questions in the room, and the comment section of the stream will be turned off. So handing over to you.
We're going to start, just introduce yourself, 30 seconds, say a bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Robbie. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm running for student media officer. First of all, thank you all for coming here to watch the debate. And I would like to talk about my manifesto first. I want to create more jobs in student media because previously all the jobs were like voluntary, most of the roles. But I would like them to be full-time paid, if that's, or even part-time roles. So like the volunteers, get something out of it.
Hi, I'm Castor. I use she, her, and I'm a third-year combined honors student. I want to be SMO because I know I've got the experience, I've got the confidence and the passion for it, and I want to make student media a place where students can grow and learn with an SMO who is approachable and also receptive. I know I've got the skills, so I'd really appreciate if you'd vote Castor #1 for SMO when voting opens.
Hi, I'm Rowan. Obviously, I'm running for student media officer. I apologise if I sound a little bit croaky because I'm not feeling very well today. But my key point, really, when it comes to the election is I want to make student media about you. I want to make it something that's representative of Newcastle students. And I want us to be able to deliver that. I think, did I mention my pronouns? My pronouns are she, her. I don't think I put that in, but there we go.
Hi, my name's Gabby. My pronouns are she, her. I'm also running for student media officer, funnily enough. And I would like to be student media officer because I would like to have a student media that informs, inspires and involves all students on campus. That's whether you are currently a part of the community, whether you're senior team, whether you're just somebody who casually picks up the paper and read it. I want to get us out there because I think it's important what we do. We give people an opportunity to brag about themselves, show off what's good about Newcastle University. We need to have some pride, so yay.
Right, so these questions are for all of you, and we'll start with Gabby and work around for each answer. How would you ensure that the limited student media budget was split equally and effectively between all branches of the student media while still ensuring that each branch is able to operate to its fullest potential?
So with regards to the budget, I think that what is important is to look at what is a priority, see what is working well, figure out how much that costs and if it's viable to sort of take money from anywhere. I do think things like the magazine, although it is really, really nice, maybe that money could be put more into a better place, such as NUTV. NUTV is something that I think could do with maybe a little bit more help this year, if obviously I get elected. And it's just, I think, about looking at where our money is currently spent, what we're prioritising, and then what is needed.
So I actually don't think that this is too much of a question of budget when it comes to everything reaching its potential. I think, NSR and NUTV are currently on a bigger budget than they have previously been, but I think they need more dedication to help them reach the full potential, and that's why I want to pull everything together under a brand so that the student media officer can dedicate more time, more effort to ensuring that the budget that they do have is spent effectively and that the people involved are getting as much support as they possibly can.
You've both got points that I quite agree with. You with the priority, you with how the general budget is used. I think what's happened this year is there are a lot of necessary costs, like the paper printing budget, can't get around that. But we've had a couple of issues from last year that we've had to use money to fix. So that's, as Rowan said, we've got more and more money for NSR and NUTV this year. But I think next year is where it's going to start to show. And I want to just help guide that because I've got the experience in all three branches to use it wisely.
I would like to say that to split the money equally between the branches, I would like to communicate with each of the branches and ask them about like where they would like to spend their budget in, and then assess whoever's like would need like top priority, put more money into that branch, and then I can have another discussion with all of the members of the branch and ask them about the budget. And if they feel like it's not good, we can work more about it.
All right, perfect. We'll start with Gabby again. What is one aspect of the current student media officer's work that you think she should be proud of?
Cool. So something that I think Meg, out of the current student media officer, should be proud of is the community that she's built. I think this year has one of the strongest community feels of like any year that at least I've been a part of it. I know that's obviously the like short kind of 3 years that I've been there, but I love that she's made sure that people are listened to, made sure that there's a space where everyone can have their work kind of shown, ensuring that everyone's kind of like all right in the space, and that's something that I would obviously want to continue, is that community. We all make such great friends through student media, and it's something that I definitely think she should be proud of, is that welcoming atmosphere that she's created.
I think me and Gabby probably would come up with answers from the same blueprint on that one. I would have gone along the same lines, but to pick something else, Meg has demonstrated some strong leadership this year, and that's something that I would also like to continue, as well as the community, of course, because it has been brilliant this year. It's been really lovely. It's been really welcoming.
To take a third point out of that, we've got really good headway on the skills workshop this year. It's something I want to continue. We've got stuff like Photoshop, we've got interviews, we've got writing workshops. I want to extend that to NSR and NUTV, editing, filming, broadcasting, podcasting even this year. There are so many more opportunities I can offer to new students, and I think we should utilize all of the knowledge that we've got.
I would like to say the same as you guys said as well, but I would like to also add the point about the constitution she drafted to define like what student media is and what we do here, which I think is very important for us, and that's another achievement I would say with all of the others.
All right, following on from that question, how would you plan on furthering the achievements and progress of the current student media officer? And we'll start with you this time.
I would like to further the achievements we went to like a award show in London this year for NU Radio, and although we didn't win any awards, it was really nice. But next year we would like to like win some awards, so I would like to improve the radio, and also NUTV would need like a more space.
Just to pull on what Gabby said, the community has been good this year. This is the biggest I think we've ever been since COVID. Meg's done a great job at pulling people to SMAs. I think we need to expand on that because a lot of people at the SMAs are there for the courier. And I think we can pull in more people for NSR and NUTV if we kind of advertise big events sooner, make people aware that like who we need, and alongside the skills workshop, make sure that people are eager to be there, encouraged to learn with us.
So following on from the strong leadership that Meg has shown, I would like to extend that across all branches by kind of restructuring a little bit and making sure that I could dedicate the time and the effort in the same way that it has been to the courier, to NSR and NUTV, to ensure that all of the branches are kind of firmly within that strong leadership.
So something that I would like to continue is I know that NSR this year especially has kind of gone for a bit of a revamp, and I think it's just ensuring that we are keeping the quality and the standard. It took us a little while to get there, but we're there now with NSR. I think I might have said NUTV. I meant NSR. And with NUTV, I think it's also a case of what I want to continue is building on it. Like Casa said earlier, with them having a bit more budget and maybe it not showing until next year, I think it's definitely just making sure we're putting opportunities out there. For example, NSR now has podcasts which we've got on the jingle, and I think it's something we could like maybe push a bit further. And podcasts are kind of like becoming a bit more mainstream now, and I think that could be something that could definitely take off. With regards to the Courier, it's continuing the standard that we hold. The Courier is an amazing paper. We print weekly editions and are one of the only universities to do so, and I think that is something we definitely shine in, and you can see it in the quality. And we do some special editions too, such as the sex edition, and I think doing special things like that could be really great. And it's just about bringing together those branches, and as I said it in my manifesto, having the central reference point to make sure that people know the opportunities that they're offered, and like can get their work out to a good standard.
All right, great. We'll start with you again, Robbie. Do you think student media is prominent enough in campus student life? And if not, how would you improve and expand student media to the rest of the university?
I would say it's prominent, but I would like to expand it more through, I would say, more social media posts. You know, to the NUSU account, we can use that to post, and also send emails to students more about opportunities in student media, and they can get involved. This is also one of my points in my manifesto I made about getting like students who are not studying media or not involved with media, like people who are in other courses, getting into student media and getting involved with us to expand student media further.
Yes, I definitely agree on that point. If you actually look at the students we have now, a lot of them don't actually study just media. We've got so much talent that we can pull from all of the university. I want to strongly push that this is not just a media-based thing. Anyone who wants to write, edit, film, even just talk on camera can be part of our student media and just be a welcoming place for all of them.
I think we have quite good engagement in terms of people getting involved with student media. We have quite a high number of writers, a high number of contributors to NSR and UTV, but I don't think we're anywhere near prominent enough on campus in terms of student engagement and readership and listeners and things, and that's why I want to introduce increased campus correspondence. This year we trialled the sports liaison, and unfortunately I just don't think that reached the potential that it could have done, but I think with a dedicated team of people doing the same thing, doing that kind of correspondence, liaising with students and seeing what they want from us, what we need to be putting out for them, covering sports, covering, you know, we haven't really done much in terms of like reviewing theatre and things like that, which we usually do, and by having a dedicated team to do that, then we can ensure that we're having that coverage consistently.
Yeah, so as everybody said, we're doing this reaching out, especially as Rowan said with Campus Sport Liaison. It sort of hasn't been reached to its full potential, and it's something we could push. However, other than just communicating a bit more effectively with clubs and societies, making sure we're taking the effort to reach out, because, for example, with the Sports A to Z, that's took reaching out to get, and we got the correspondence back. So that just shows that's something we need to improve, and I think that's something we can do with societies. And returning to my manifesto again, another thing that I wanted to do is our blind date feature is normally super popular. People enjoy doing it. People enjoy seeing their friends in it, having a bit of a laugh at like maybe if a date's gone wrong, or cheering at the success if it's gone right. And with bringing in sort of a confessions feature that could run through all three branches of student media and a agony aunt sort of vibe thing, I think it's picking up and seeing those things, having a giggle, like just anyone can get involved with that across campus, and it's just like pushing that. People love confessions, they think they're funny. So I think that could bring in a lot of readership too.
Am I allowed to respond to that?
I
It is
don't
a
know,
debate.
so I'll say yes.
Yeah? So, having been the campus sport liaison, I think yes and no, it has worked. It's been a really good idea. I think, from my personal experience, our head of sport is very capable, and that is definitely something we can push. As you said, the ATZ has worked really well. I think one thing I'd want to do as SMO is establish a really good connection with the other SABs, say activities, say athletics union, say even our liberation officers, international welfare, whoever, and get them to talk with our our volunteers a little more, so we have that connection, as you said, but also just open different avenues.
All right, great. We're going to start with Gabby again. Do you think the writers or commenters of certain subjects should be only people with lived experience? For example, only LGBTQ plus members writing an article on homophobia, or only be AME running a segment on racism?
So I do agree that those sort of articles should be given to people with those voices. There's only so much you can say as a person that doesn't have that experience. You could possibly comment on it sort of from an outside perspective, but if we wanted people to share their experience to create a deeper understanding, we're not going to get that from someone who hasn't got the lived experience. And I think another thing with articles such as that is maybe if, like I said previously, reaching out to societies, it's like talking to LGBTQ plus society, we've got the Afro-Caribbean society, and it's like asking them if there's anything they would like to write about, any events they've got on, because I think that way, asking them what they want to contribute instead of suggesting an experience to them, maybe that could be a little bit better. I don't know.
I think the short answer is yes. That those kind of articles should be going to the people with the lived experiences. I think there are exceptions. If it's a news-based piece, things like that, potentially, if there's an angle that could be taken by somebody without that lived experience, then there's always the option. But I do think priority should be for the people with the lived experiences. And that's just, it's not only about the kind of depth of the article and then being able to provide that perspective, but also about being inclusive and offering opportunities to those people, because generally they are the marginalised groups. It's about making sure that we're offering opportunities for people from those marginalised groups, for LGBTQ+, for ethnic minorities, for disabled, neurodivergent students. We need to make sure that those are consistently offered and those people are able to take those opportunities.
Yeah, so absolutely, I agree on all of those points. I think there is huge value in allowing students to speak out about what matters to them personally and what they know. I think there is also value in raising awareness. Say we didn't have a writer taking a specific article. After reaching out to societies, if, say, we still couldn't find anyone, I would see if I could work with a writer or sub-editor and make sure we can find a respectful tone, make sure it's an educated piece, so even if it's not a personal account, it spreads awareness, because there's also value in that.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you guys, because I think it's really important for people with past lived experiences to report on these articles. And also it's like a point in my manifesto about increasing inclusivity in student media, which would be very beneficial if more LGBTQ people join us, or from BAME community people join us, and they can write the articles about their past experiences and share their story with everyone.
Yeah.
I just wanted to quickly add, I know from being head of Life and Style and being part of a Life and Style section, that a lot of the time if you maybe suggest something, because maybe it's LGBTQ plus History Month or something like that, they're less likely to get taken. So I think it's more of a case of if somebody approaches us and they have that lived experience, it's prioritizing their suggestion and their pitch and working with them to create something. And I think that is also another good way to make sure those voices are heard.
On the topic of inclusivity and things, I also think there's a lot of room for improvement. This past month has been LGBTQ plus History Month. We've had quite a lot of coverage of that, which is great. As a queer student, it was great to see that. But I think there's a lot of room for coverage on things like Black History Month, disability history, autism awareness. There's not a lot for other kinds of, we need to be more inclusive. There's a lot more going on than just LGBTQ History Month, and it would be great to see the same level of coverage for other marginalised groups.
All right, great. We'll start with you again, Robbie. How would you combat the discussion that the student manager of NUTV and NSR should be full-time paid roles?
I would like to agree, as I said before, about creating more jobs in student media. So if these roles are full-time paid, I would achieve the point of my manifesto, and I fully agree with making these roles full-time paid if I become student media officer.
See, I think this is a tough one because ultimately I will not have enough in my salary to pay people full time. I think there's definitely a lot of value. Other stations have done it. They've got full-time roles. It's a matter of a discussion with the student union. If that is something that, NUTV and NSR seem like they really need, I am willing to make that discussion with the student union.
So obviously the student media officer role was changed to student media officer from editor of the Courier to reflect the fact that that person is also principal lead for NSR and NUTV. So therefore, they don't actually need to be full-time paid roles. What they need is that kind of structural tweaking to make sure that that person that is student media officer is able to dedicate the same amount of time to NSR and NUTV as they do the Courier.
Yeah, Rowan, you're absolutely right. I think, as Rowan mentioned, it was changed to student media officer last year because it is someone that covers all three branches. Something that Meg, I think, has done really well, especially with NSR more so, is that she has made sure she's taken charge there, made sure that they're organised, and I think that's helped. If it were possible to have them as paid roles, I think that could be beneficial. However, with things like cost of living and all of that, I think it's hard to just promise money where it can't necessarily be promised. So yeah.
Okay, and we'll start with you again, Gabby. How would you balance conflicts within student media?
I think this is a case of sort of feeding back and making sure that, like, as SMO, you are listening to feedback. Again, I personally think it's been done quite well this year. And if there is a conflict, is just making sure it's addressed from day one and not just like brushed under the carpet. I don't think it's fair to listen to maybe one person and then anything else to just like ignore it. So I would personally address it straight away, make sure I'm listening to feedback, make sure I understand what's going on and try and nip it in the bud as soon as I can.
I think the key is to kind of reduce any opportunity for conflict to arise by fostering a complete open door policy, again, responding to feedback. And it's quite difficult to say how you would kind of respond to a conflict because every situation would be different. But again, it would be coming back to that complete open door policy, allowing people to talk freely about any issues that they might have and then resolving them in the best way possible for that particular situation.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The community aspect is highly important. Something I really value. One of my manifesto points as well is being receptive to feedback myself. So I'm happy to open discussion, be free if anyone in the office says they'd like to talk to me about anything. Again, with the open community, I want to foster very honest student media. So I'd like to kind of prevent issues before they even happen from the beginning. And just hopefully with that friendly aspect and that teamwork, we kind of solve things as we go. But everyone makes mistakes. As long as we are responsible and we are willing to solve it, we can do it.
I would say I agree with the open door policy very much. I believe you can DM me anytime whenever I'm student media officer, if I become student media officer. But I'm open, and I think it's really important. If there's a conflict, you need to listen to both sides and then make a judgment. And if they're willing to compromise, I would say compromise is the best option. And other than that, if there's any problem, like I would say the open door policy is the best. And thank you.
Okay, we'll start with you for this one, Robbie. In a scenario where the publication of an article, show, or broadcast could potentially lead to a writer or a producer's harm, how would you handle this?
I would say if our article or anything like harms a certain person or an individual, I don't think we should post it because persons like well-being and their life does matter more than just like a publication of few articles or something like that. So I would just say I would like not publish anything which will harm someone or any way.
Yeah, for sure. So if we're aware of this risk before publication, I definitely work with the team, see if we can either edit it, make changes to ensure their safety, or if it's undoable. I understand it's a lot of work and effort people put in, but safety is paramount, and I'd just see if we can redo it or completely scrap the idea. Yeah, just safety is first. If there's anything at risk at all, I would just stop it immediately.
So ultimately, as student media officer, you are responsible for protecting your team. You have to ensure that the things that are being put out aren't going to cause them any harm. But there's also, we can't be downright offensive, but we also have to encourage people to share their ideas. So it's finding the balance between what is offensive and what isn't. People need to be able to share their, a potentially controversial idea is not something that's going to cause harm. And in the case that it is going to cause harm, you need to take responsibility for that, and you need to make sure that those people are safe.
Cool. So something that we've done at the Courier in the 2 years that I've been on the senior team is making sure that all of the senior team has access to welfare training, and I think that is something that I would personally want to continue or to improve, is to make sure that people can get welfare training. And another thing is, when it comes to articles with potential trigger warnings, is being more sensitive to those online and in print. I think we could do better on that front. Some of the things we publish are quite, we want them to be raw, we want them to be honest, we want people to be able to share their opinions, as Rowan has said, give them the space to share that. However, I do think that sometimes the things that we read or the things that can be submitted can completely sideswipe us, and we don't expect it, and it's just making sure that people know the support available, where they can go, what channels there are within the Students' Union that you can offer, things like Nightline, the welfare services that we have, is something that I just want to make sure people know about, as well as outside people they can contact, charities like Mind, Samaritans, things like that, if they are also themselves feeling affected by kind of anything like that.
All right, great. We'll start with you again, Robbie. How would you increase networking opportunities between those in student media and those working in industries?
I would like to increase the networking by, as I said, introducing more jobs in student media, and also if there's more internships offering in the industry, I would encourage more people in student media to take up those internships, or even people who are doing other courses and not involved with student media. I would like them to get involved as well and go out, experience the industry and see if student media is a thing for them and if they have a future there.
Sorry, were you done?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to increase networking opportunities. I'd personally love to introduce monthly industry speakers. The year before this, we had industry people come in during the weekly SMAs. It made the student media afternoons kind of long, as some people weren't expecting it. I'd love to publicize those more, and perhaps not just at SMAs, but perhaps say coffee morning with this person, get to know them a little more, do this skills workshop with this person as well. That is something that's highly valuable. Also, this past week or last month, we had the creative careers as well, and that's something highly important that we need to promote within student media, and we can definitely get more awareness on that.
So as part of my manifesto, I mentioned that I wanted to reintroduce guest speakers and provide industry workshops. So when it comes to how, the Courier, NSR and NUTV have got a whole wealth of alumni who have gone on to do great things in media industries, and it would be great to utilise some of those, bring some of those people back in. I mean, you can see from the planning of the anniversary dinner that a lot of those people are very willing to come back to where they came from. I'd also like to, utilise my own personal contacts. I can put us in touch with people that have written for Clash, Euronews, people that have received the Journalism Diversity Funds, that have gone through NCTJ courses, and to ensure that we're using all of the contacts that we have to provide the best networking opportunities for people and the best kind of opportunities for them to gain skills too.
My take when it comes to networking and like building more opportunities to kind of further your career is firstly, when it comes to people's own work, encouraging that they not only write for the Courier but explore their other options, be able to show their work off as much as they can and have confidence in it. Obviously, of course, like it could create conflicts, but I think as long as we're being mindful of like what we're publishing, that we're not crossing over things that have been published in like other publications, like I think that it's acceptable for people to put their work where they want to and like kind of put their eggs where they want to put their eggs, I guess, not all in one basket. And I think when it comes to networking is looking at the contacts I do have, looking at the contacts we have with alumni, and if people have certain strengths or if there's anything people want to know, telling them like, hey, like you could contact this person, suggesting places that where they could go, as opposed to bringing people in and having to organise people to come here, because sort of when it comes to SMAs or workshops, people have lectures, people have seminars, gets in the way. There's never going to be a day where people can like agree on, or like everyone can access sort of that opportunity. So it's trying to find a way that we can work with our contacts instead outwards.
Okay, and we'll go back to you for this one, Gabby. How would you plan on campaigning for a permanent studio space to LH with NUTV content production in light of their lack of space in comparison to other student media branches?
I think when it comes to lack of space, the amount that student media has grown over the years, space anyway is a bit tight. For example, even in the Courier office, we're all a bit on top of each other when it comes to sub-editors. And also in the NSR kind of studio with the podcast setup, again, it's a bit busy in there too. Ideally, it would be great if NUTV could have their own space to kind of have all of their equipment, everything organised, but I think it's kind of making sure that NUTV's space in the office is NUTV's space. If I can campaign for their own space or have an own studio, that is something that I think would absolutely be really valuable, somewhere to edit, somewhere to keep kit, because currently, as far as I'm aware, it is all kind of a bit of a mess. But yeah.
So there is currently a refurb planned within the SU. They are planning to refurb this floor to ensure that there's kind of more space for all branches of student media. However, in the meantime, it's essential that NUTV has its own space to kind of store its things within the office and to promote kind of getting NUTV out on campus, on-campus broadcasting, sports coverage, things like that, to make sure that they're still being able to reach their potential while we're kind of in waiting for this permanent space, which is coming, but there's only so much we can do until that arrives.
Yeah, definitely. So, as you said, it's in progress, but we unfortunately can't knock down the walls ourselves. We kind of have to grow with the building. So, as you said, organization is key, making sure that kind of a little bit of the budget goes into keeping things up to date, in shape, because right now a bit of our gear is kind of clogged, battered, making sure that we've got the right storage, the right organization, the right system to make sure everyone knows where things are, how to get them, and again, just draw out a line in the office where this is just NUTV's, don't touch it. But yeah, it's coming.
I would like to say it's like a really good idea, and I agree with everyone. Like NUTV would need more space to organize their stuff and keep everything, but it's like a hard thing to promise to get because it's like a room. It's not like allocation of budget or anything. Getting a room, allocating space in the student union would be a bit hard, but I would campaign for it, for more space in the student union for the NUTV.
Okay, great. We've now got some audience questions submitted in advance. They're individual for each of you, and they're all surprise. So, Gabby, the first one is for you. Have fun.
I love surprises.
What exactly do you mean by streamlined software training, and how will it be different to any training editors have received in the past?
Sound okay. So, personally, I think that my strengths lie in things like Photoshop. I am quite good at it, better than probably the average person who's just started using Photoshop. And something that I really didn't like was that I'd have to sit through this basic Photoshop training where I wasn't sort of improving. I would zone out. I just did not enjoy it. But I could also see that there were people in that same session who were struggling a bit more than I was, who maybe needed a little bit of extra help. But because we were going at sort of a middle ground pace, it meant that those who were struggling didn't get the targeted help to improve where they wanted to improve, and I and maybe others at my level were getting bored. And what I want to kind of do is have sessions that are a bit more targeted, so have, for example, like a beginners, intermediate, advanced kind of session. Same thing for maybe things like NUTV. There's going to be people who have used Magic Box before or Premiere Pro before, and then there's going to be people that haven't used them before. So kind of trying to find a way that we can have like maybe a beginner's one that can go at a pace where you can give more individualized help, and having something more advanced. I ran an advanced Photoshop workshop, and even there, like, people came to me that had a little bit more experience, which was really, really nice. But it was nice that it was a small enough group that I could give targeted help to those that really needed like the basic skills. So that's what I mean by streamlined, is just aiming it towards people's skill level so that either they don't get bored and they are actually learning valuable things.
All right, great. Robbie, this one's for you. What exactly do you mean by gain more out of the career? What are your plans to improve student media if elected, and how do you think officers more considering... hang on, sorry, I can't read that for a second. How do you think you can office more considerate... Sorry, I'm not reading properly. If elected, and how do you think you can officer more considering you are a candidate with no experience, prior experience with student media? Do you want me to repeat that, because I sort of butchered it a bit? What exactly do you mean by getting more out of the career? What are your plans to improve student media if elected, and how do you think you can officer more considering you're a candidate with no prior experience with student media?
I would like to say I agree that I'm the only candidate with no prior experience with student media, but I am doing media, and I'm like media in my degree, and I'm in third year. I would say it's not as much experience as the others, but I'm really good with team working, and I believe that is the main thing to run like the 3 branches of student media properly. You just need to cooperate with your teammates, and I would say is one of my abilities. Also, I would like to say getting more out of the career, I meant by getting more out of like students' like voices, like people who are not involved with student media, as I mentioned before in my points. I would like them to join the career and like tell their story, or we can have like a little news site about them, like a profile article about them, or like an achievement they have, like, or some internship they got offered. Anything, I would say I would just like more people to get involved in student media.
This one is for Castor. From the manifesto you have uploaded on NUSU, have you changed your views since writing this, as your Instagram manifesto points do not entirely match up? Please, could you expand on these thoughts or differences, if they're there?
So firstly, this year's manifesto was 200 words, so that was hard. Yes, the wording has changed. I'm going to be transparent about that. The core ideas are exactly the same. I want to do exactly what I said on my manifesto, just expand it a little bit. I'm still passionate about student media. I have the same kind of like ideas and kind of motivations. I want to increase skills. I want to be receptive to feedback. I want to increase inclusivity. These, again, while they're not the same words, same core ideas, and I have not wavered in my confidence.
Okay, now for you, Rowan, why do you want to introduce a fourth outlet under the student media brand?
Okay, so I think there's a lot of people that don't get involved with student media because they don't necessarily think that there's something for them. They think that it's all about writing articles, but journalism is a complete multimedia field, and I think we could be utilizing people who are artistic, photographers, and things like that. There are other SUs that have incorporated that into their student media brands, and I think we could be doing the same to make sure we're offering a wide variety of opportunities outside of the standard writing articles or hosting a radio show. The different opportunities for people with different strengths, because those opportunities are there, and we just don't we don't promote them enough. And that's why, by creating a clear fourth outlet for them to bring those people together, we could be creating a way to show that.
Right, now this one is for all of you. Based on your experience in student media, how will you ensure all three branches of student media have an efficient senior team, despite them obviously being filled with volunteers? And we'll start with you, Gabby.
So this year, something that has been a bit more consistent is being rewarded for our work, things like working with Go Volunteer, getting certificates, and just generally positive things. Something that Meg has constantly reminded us is our achievements, and I think it is trying to make sure people are reassured about their achievements, encouraging us to go for awards, the Celebrating Success Awards, especially when I was a sub-ed. It was a really big thing for me. I really wanted to get an award, and I think it's with things like the SPAs, the SRAs, I think it's also NASTA. I think that is the other one for TV, is just encouraging, having a goal set that we can reach, and then showing hey, look, we've reached this goal, look how amazingly you've done, and look where it's got you. Just consistently reinforcing people's achievements, I think, is a good way to keep morale up.
So as well as recognizing people's achievements, I think it's also important that we maintain an outlet for people to do something that they enjoy, because the way that people are going to be the most efficient is when they're doing something that they really enjoy. And I think that comes from ensuring that people have got dedicated support, and it doesn't become overwhelming for them. People have got ways to progress within student media, and just ensuring that generally they're having a good time, because as volunteers that is essential. It's not something, we're not being paid to be here. We're doing it because we love it.
Yeah, so following on your point, I think one question that was raised about the full-time paid station managers, the issue with that is, again, we're all volunteers here. We all are here because we love student media. We love what we do. I think we've had issues in the past about people potentially overworking themselves, feeling exhausted, and to keep an efficient senior team, everyone needs to be healthy, rested, and happy. So I think if I were elected SMO, I'd keep reevaluating where I can help, where I can offer support as the only full-time person to ensure that my volunteers are, getting their rest and being as efficient as they can be.
I would like to say I didn't have my chance to volunteer for student media before, but if I'm elected, I would ensure all the volunteers who come deserve what they get. And also I would like to say that student media would not be possible without volunteering. If you guys didn't volunteer as well, it would be really hard, I would say. So I think it's really important to take care of the people who are volunteering, their well-being from everything as well, I would say is important. And yeah.
Great. I've got a few more questions left, but just conscious of time, maybe some quicker responses, short ones, sorry. Which specific measures can student media take to be more accessible? More accessible.
I would like to say, to be more accessible to people, I would first like to say we have to inform more people about student media. I think a lot of people are not aware about it. So as I said previously, like sending emails like through student like email and posting more on the SU social media pages, on the YouTube, everywhere, and just making it for everyone, I would say. And also, as I said, in my manifesto, to increase inclusivity in student media, I would like to like allow everyone else to share their stories, people from marginalized groups and minorities, to tell us like what they're feeling, I would just say.
Yeah, definitely listening to feedback from all of our contributors, really important point. As well, I'd love to consider all the needs of our people. For example, I'd love to bring in more sober socials for those who don't drink, don't love a night out, or they're kind of harder places to get to for those with disability needs. As well, I'd like to bring Discord back. I've talked to tons of people who have found Facebook hard. They hadn't had it, and they didn't feel like joining 20 pages to access all of student media's kind of sections or things. So with Discord, I want to streamline all of that into one big channel, which is easier for people to access and find everything they need in one place and contact who they need.
Okay, so I think it's easy to be confused about what accessibility actually is, and what we need to be focusing on is ensuring that, alt text is used consistently, that we're using things like camel case on social media. Could we be addressing the fonts that we're using? Because, we use a lot of serif fonts, it's part of the branding, but sans serif fonts are kind of, it's a research and it's a fact that those are more accessible for neurodivergent people, for screen readers, things like that. So we need to be ensuring that we're looking into that. Could we be hosting SMAs on the ground floor more, because the SU isn't the most accessible building for say, wheelchair access. So we need to understand what accessibility is, and we need to address those needs.
Without trying to take up too much time, again, I agree with what you've said. Definitely being more consistent with our use of alt text, specifically online, with things like our featured images. Again, where we can, changing to sans serif fonts, post serif fonts, and also things like NSR, having transcripts for podcasts if we can. I know that transcripts are very, very difficult, take a long time. If there's a software we can find to get things like that, as well with NUTV, when we upload past streams, finding a way that we can caption them, because YouTube auto captions are sometimes so awful and get like the weirdest words mixed up. If that is possible, that is something I would like to do to also improve accessibility. So build on your point there.
All right, great. You all mentioned in some way in your manifesto, you all mentioned employment in some ways in your manifesto. Can you please expand on how you will continue to make student media an accessible and welcoming environment without placing too much pressure on students to make a career out of their time volunteering, especially since some volunteers are only involved with the community and social aspects? And we'll start with you, Robin.
I would say like anyone can like whoever feels free can join student media, just experience it, see how you feel, and you don't always have to make a career out of it. Even like if there's voluntary roles, and if people want to join for community, I think it's a really nice thing for people to look forward to. And as I said in my points before, like people from other courses would be involved in this as well, so they wouldn't have to make like for say the future in media.
Yeah, so I'll admit personally, I have a huge interest in media after university, and I want to offer things for the same people. But as you said, a large part of student media is the community. It's just the fun of talking on radio for an hour, writing about your favorite album. I want to really focus on that, make sure people just are happy in doing what they do, not put too much pressure either from what I say personally, or just pushing too hard on like, hey, this is an industry professional, you have to talk to them. It's just, student media is student media. It's just something you do at uni for fun.
So we definitely need to keep promoting the fact that student media is an outlet for people to talk about the things that they're interested in, the things that they enjoy. You know, they might just want to write an occasional article about something they're particularly passionate about instead of repeatedly reporting news articles because, you know, they're not interested in being a news reporter. They just want that outlet. But I think it's also kind of important to promote the fact that with these like industry workshops and guest speakers that I'm wanting to bring in, that there's plenty of transferable skills to be gained from that for people that aren't necessarily interested in media careers, but in a whole range of careers.
Yeah, so again, agree with what everyone said. But also, I think it can be easy as a volunteer that you think that you have to strive for perfectionism and strive for this like perfect, amazing, like immaculate kind of student kind of publication. And we are a great publication, you know, even with like mistakes and things like that, we still excel in what we do. And I think it is reminding volunteers that it doesn't have to be perfect. Give what you can, do what you can. If it's not perfect, it's not the end of the world. Like, you're still having fun, you're still creating something you love. And like I said before, with just like rewarding our achievements and like setting small goals, working with the volunteers to kind of help them, if I can, with those goals. They can come to me and be like, hey, I'm struggling with this, I would like to reach this goal, and being able to support them in any way that I can, and just remind them again, you don't have to be perfect, it's just a bit of fun, you're just volunteering.
All right, great. I'm starting with this one, Gabby. How do you feel the merger of student media into the NUSU volunteer department has been received among student volunteers?
Okay, so I mentioned this before. I think it was like a good move to have that reward, to be able to see our time physically put down on a piece of paper and then rewarded with like the certificate, and that it has been recognised by the uni that we are volunteering our own time. And I think that it has been a great step forward in kind of acknowledging the hours we do contribute. Also having the volunteer spotlights on the Courier and the Students' Union social media. I know that that's the people who were involved with that really felt a sense of pride seeing themselves there. Yeah, and I think it's been a really good move.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's been really successful. I think it's been really great to see people getting recognised for the amount of time that they put in. People have been, you know, really receptive to that recognition. I think there's probably room for improvement in terms of guidance to log those hours. I know a few people have struggled with that, but ultimately I think it has been really successful and people have really appreciated the recognition that they've been getting.
Yeah, and as you guys said, there have been a couple pitfalls, maybe in accessing the logging hours sheet, but also kind of spreading awareness, because I know a lot of people in the Courier have been really pleased about it. I think we need to push that further to NSR and NUTV. Everyone here is a volunteer. They should be recognized for all they do, whether it's seeing their product or having an extra line on their CV that they can just show off. Tell someone they've been a volunteer and I can be proud of that.
I would say it's important to get like recognition for your hard work and all you do here in student media or any volunteering, I would say, because you're also not getting paid for it. So I would say it would be a bit unfair if you did not get anything in return. I would say it improves your CV, but always it's like, you know, nice to have like an award. So you can tell your friends, your family, everyone's proud of you, I would say.
I've got one question. Do we have time for it? Oh, yeah. What are your thoughts on producing a weekly paper, considering the mix of this and the other commitments in the role has caused the current student media officer burnout this year, Roy?
I would say it's very bad that the mixing of the weekly editing has caused the student media officer to burn out. I would say I would, if I'm elected student media officer, I would try to take care of my health and well-being, even though like I'd give my job preference, but I would say like it is very important to take care of yourself before anything else, because in the longer run as well, it's better for you. And I would just say that.
Yes, so as I said before, everyone here needs to be rested in order to produce their best work. I'd definitely communicate more with my deputy editor, my senior editors. They're perfectly capable. NSR and NUTV, we've had bobbles from the year before, but I believe we're getting just better and better every year. and definitely being having a communicative and organized system will be really a really good start in that.
I think with my plan to bring everything together under a kind of brand, there'll be a level of organisation that's been lacking, and I think that will kind of combat the burnout that has been a problem. As for producing a weekly paper, I think it's great, and we are, like you've said before, one of very few universities that actually do that. So I think it would be, there's no way that we would let that go. I think it's just a case of pulling everything together to make sure that the student media officer in charge of that is able to do it effectively without everything kind of piling on top. That makes sense.
I think with regards to, like I've said it before, we are one of the only universities that does create a weekly paper, and if it becomes too much, it would be a case of communicating with people like the senior team. If it's a weekly paper that people think they're being involved in, then we obviously don't want to cut it. But like, if everyone's burnt out and if it is becoming too much, maybe we do need to take a look at it and be like, could we be producing something of better quality bi-weekly? It wouldn't be a priority of mine, though, to change the print run of the paper. I think that's quite a small issue in the grand scheme of things. We've got other things to fix and other things to prioritize. I think it would just be a case of balance and organisation where I can, if I can, as student media officer.
Well, that was a final question, so I think we're done. Closing statements, I did forget about that. Gabby, we'll start with you.
Okay. I didn't prepare one of these. I forgot I could. However, closing statement, thank you all for coming. I hope that from the questions and from my answers, you can see the passion that I have for student media and what I would like to do to kind of accelerate it further, get us recognised, things like that, more around campus. And I really urge you to go for Gabby when votes open on the 6th of March.
Again, thank you all for coming. Thank you to Student Media for hosting the debates. I really hope that my passion has shone through despite the tonsillitis. And I urge you all, if you have any more questions, to drop me a message on my Instagram at @row4smo if you need any further clarity on any of my ideas, and to vote Row for SMO on the 6th of March.
Yeah, again, thank you to all of our volunteers here, student media or otherwise, and the audience for being here on the Thursday evening. I hope that you've really seen that I truly care for student media, and I believe that student media is a place that can give back to its volunteers just as much as they put in. So if all that sounds good to you, remember to vote Castor for #1 when voting opens on March the 6th.
I would like to thank everyone for being here, for giving their time watching this debate. I would like to thank people who hosted the debate as well, all the volunteers and NUTV. I would say if you have any questions about my campaign or anything, you can feel free to DM me on Instagram as well. It's Robbie for SM Student Media, and I can anytime you can DM me. I can respond to any queries or explain more about my manifesto or any further questions. Thank you.
I think that's it. I have nothing to add.
Thank you. How are you guys? Good? Well, we'll be back for the next debate. Hello, my name is Maria Pace and welcome to the 2023 student elections. Now before we start I have to read a statement of respect. NUSU welcomes all Newcastle University students to the 2023 election debates, organised and broadcasted by the NUSU student media. Our priority is to facilitate a fair and democratic election, and we believe in freedom of speech and the right for all students to express their views. However, we do not tolerate any harassment or discrimination of any kind. We ask that at all times you treat fellow students, colleagues and staff with respect. Anyone displaying rude, aggressive or inappropriate behaviour within the question submission form or in the room will be immediately removed and will be unable to play an active role in this or future debates relating to the 2023 student elections. Now, before you introduce yourself, or whilst you introduce yourself, please use your pronouns. There's no need to repeat for any questions because they'll all be on the board. And all audience questions have been pre-submitted through a form, and therefore there'll be no questions in the room, and the comment section of the stream will be turned off. Well, anyways, good luck, and I'm passing it to you.
Hello everyone, my name is Tarushi and my pronouns are she and her. I will be moderating the debate for Activities Officer tonight, and we will open with a short opening statement. But before that, I just want to say that the questions that I'll be asking you, you'll all get your own time to answer, but please make sure that it's to the point and it's regarding the question. And if I feel that, we have less time, I might have to interrupt and ask you to cut it down. So please don't take any offense to that. So we'll start with you, Alex. Would you like to start with a short opening statement?
Hello, my name is Alex. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a third-year politics and archaeology student, and I'm running for activities officer because my whole time at university I've been involved in societies. I love it. I love the activities that are going on campus, and I truly feel like I would have something to contribute to what is going on with it. And also I would like to apologize in advance. I know we all have notes that we're going to be glancing at. I know the other candidates for student media didn't have it, so I just like to say that, if that's okay.
That's okay, that's fine.
Hey guys, I'm Nan Zhang. I'm from China. I'm from Applied Linguistics TESOL in education school. So I'm passionate to activity officer because I have very rich experience for organizing activities. For this spot, I'm very happy to meet you guys. I'm very happy. So first time to sit here. Sometimes is very nervous because I'm the course rep in the education school, and I work to the Confucius Institute of Students. And also, I'm the membership of the NEST activity projects. I'm very passionate for the activity series. Sometimes, I'm from the first time from Newcastle. I really like this. I like the student unit. Sometimes it's the first time, and I really appreciate it for you guys to come here. Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Dan. My pronouns are he, him. I'm running to be activities officer, obviously. I am the founder and current president, treasurer, and welfare officer of SOCSOC, and I believe it's my time at SOCSOC that makes me the ideal activities officer, because not only have I learned sort of working with the union and working within the union to deliver fantastic societal events and activities, I've also learned to do that with a sense of fun that I think is often missing in a lot of student politics, and it's that sort of bogged downness that a lot of it can get into that's alienated a large proportion of the student body, and I'd like very much to bring back a sense of fun and hope that anybody listening and anybody interested can get involved, because I think student politics is actually quite important.
Hello, my name is Ethan. My pronouns are he, him. I'm also running to be your activities officer. I'm currently studying data science and my master's in it after doing my undergrad here in mathematics, so a lot of maths going on. My manifesto bases itself around three main key areas: communication, control, and collaboration. And I'm sure we'll delve deeper into that throughout these debates. I've had plenty of experience. I'm currently the president of 20 Minute Society and the secretary of MathsOp this year, but I've also been additional roles such as social sec, welfare officer, treasurer, sponsorship rep, and other roles as well as having a deep understanding of the Students' Union, being involved throughout loads of different projects and loads of different areas involved. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Yangxi Zhang, and my pronouns is she or her, and I'm running for your next activity officer. I'm a postgraduate student of law school from China. And in my past university life, has always been working in the student union. So I have really rich experience in organizing and planning activities for students. And I have organized many large and award-winning activities. Additionally, as a female, international and a Chinese student, I do think that I experienced many something that others have not. So I can be more aware of the diversity, equality, and inclusion. Additionally, I care about and related to mental issues because some of my best friends have ever suffered from them. So my manifesto is also based on the above points. They are societies and activities, themes and forms of activities, and students' mental health and welfare. Firstly, I want to make the societies more attractive and invisible and strengthen the links between them and bring more free and regular activities for students. Secondly, I want to bring more possibilities for the student activities to make everyone involved in enjoyable and memorable. Finally, I want to work more with the welfare and the equality officer to make more budget for student mental health and welfare. I really hope that every student in our university have equal and awesome experience and working with everyone to build a greater Newcastle. So if you are also expecting more interesting and fun activities, please vote Yangtze for number 1 for activities officer. Thank you all.
Hi, my name is Jade. My pronouns are her and she, and I'm running to be our next activities officer. As an MA student, I only been studying and living here for only 6 months, but I really love this city, and I want to stay longer. Also, I love to join different activities. There are many new ideas in my mind, and I want to make them come true. The highlight in my manifesto is to allow each student to discover their own values from the activities they enjoy. And it doesn't matter if you don't do it well or not good at it. I just want everyone to have a good memory. This is what I think should be the meaning of joining different societies and activities. Everyone is unique, and everyone should find their uniqueness and be proud of themselves. Also, as I also said, it doesn't matter if you start to do something, but it doesn't go well, because everyone is not perfect. So don't be afraid, be brave. To achieve this, I will focus more on the personal and authentic experiences of the participants. Know what they like and what they want. Work with all the officers and union members to improve. What's more, I want to add some new activities about different culture and countries. We are an international university. We want to do international things. For example, the most thing I want to do is a World Food Festival to try different kinds of food. If you are interested, then vote Jade number 1 for activities officers. Thank you.
Well, amazing. Thank you so much. Now, I've got some questions that I'll be asking you all, and these are the questions for everyone, but after that, we've got some audience questions. So the first question is, what do you think is the best activity, society, or club introduced in Newcastle University in the past 2 years, and why is it better than the rest? Jade, do you want to start this time?
Yes, for me as an international student, the most impressed me activity is the language partner activity last semester I attended, and I really enjoyed that activity because it gave me the chance to chat with people speak English or speak other kind of language, and I feel like I won't feel alone, and I make many good friends there, so I think that one is the best.
Okay, thanks for asking. For me, I think the best activities is the Fresher Week, because as an international student, when I arrived here, I was totally unfamiliar with this city. And the Fresher Week, the activities of Fresher Week bring me to explore every corner of Newcastle. We can know where to eat, where to drink, where to climb this activity I attend. And I really think these activities enhance the sense of belonging of our students, and we can quickly be familiar with this great city. Thank you.
So I think there's been a lot of societies that have been ratified within the past 2 years. A lot of activities have happened. There's been great progress throughout, and we've seen that come through so many different societies that have happened. One I'd like to highlight, though, that I think is a really important aspect is the Women's Social Sports Society. It's an area for non-competitive sports for women to try out, have a go at sports they might not be able to try, making it accessible, inclusive. And for me, that is a pretty good one. I found about it a few weeks ago. I thought that was a really, really impressive society. So well done to the committee and anyone who's a member over there. But yeah, shout out to all new societies. You're doing a great job.
I think this question could be a great chance for me to stroke my own ego and say sock sock, but I'm not going to do that. My choice would be Demand Sock, which technically isn't a new society. It's the melding of Dan Sock and Mind the Gap. But I think that's such an important aspect, such an important safe space for those students. Demand Sock obviously being the Disability, Mental Health and Neurodivergent Society. As someone who was recently diagnosed neurodivergent just 2 months ago, I think it's a very important safe space to give to a lot of students. And I think what's most impressive is the people behind that and the people in that committee, in the two committees of the society, knew that and worked so hard to make sure that the space could continue when it felt like possibly it couldn't. So I think the sock's pretty good too.
Thank you. That's a good question. I think it's difficult to answer directly. To be honest, I think the next project is good and the refreshers activity is very good. But to be honest, the first most impression for me is the East North of England Spring Gala. Organized by the Chinese Society and the Sex Scholar, because I work in the Confucius Institute with the Chinese Society, and we organized the East North of England Spring Gala, because the February 10th on the stage, because he invited the Sunderland Mayor, Newcastle University, the council, and some many famous people invited the gala. I think the Chinese Gala is not in Chinese because multilingual, because I specialize in the applied linguistics and TESOL. Some specialize in multilingualism. I've attend some of the workshops, not only for the Chinese or which are the country students, of the multilingualism, respect all of the students to attend this. So this spring, because of pandemic, sometimes the activity can't organized by the offline. So this is very meaningful for all of the students to attend it, because as for active officer, we engage some students to engage these activities. It's multilingualism and not Chinese, South Africa and Korea anyway. So we should engage some students to engage these activities. So I think the Spring Gala from organized Chinese Society is very meaningful in the past 2 years. Thank you so much.
So I'm not sure if this counts because it technically has not been put on yet, but we will soon have the Festival of Culture be put on, which as an international student, I know like many of us are, I really do appreciate like culture being highlighted, as I'm like Cypriot and Romanian and I haven't been able to like experience a lot of my culture during my time at university, and I feel like it would be a great way to allow international students and even like local students who might have a cultural background to sort of delve into and explore their own culture more while at university. But I do also want to highlight the work of It Happens Here Society, which I'm not sure, I think it has been founded in the past 2 years, but I'm not very sure. And generally their work, especially this year with like collaborating with the NUSU president to get the statistics for sexual violence on campus, I feel like that's very important work being done, and just in general, those two would be my top.
That's nice, thank you so much. The second question is, what do you think is or can be a hindrance in carrying out activities effectively, and what steps would you take as the activities officer to get rid of it?
I think one of the reasons that many students may want to attend an activity is because of fee. Maybe the fee, they don't think it was that high fee to attend it. So maybe we can try hard to get more funding from our students' union. And also, another part is we need to make the what we're gonna do in this activity more clear to the participants so that they will know they are interested in this, and there will be more people to join in. Thank you.
Okay, for me, I think the most difficult part of it is the different culture and our background. And I think the step to resolve it, the first one is to enhance the training of the students and the staff, something about the inclusion and diversity. Secondly, when we organize the activities, we can try to simplify the steps and, for example, use less language and more body language so everyone can get our means. And finally, I think we should encourage different cultures communication. For example, for me, at first, when I joined the activities, I don't want to, I don't mean to don't talk to people. I just shy. So I think everyone should be encouraged to take part in more activities, to speak up. Thank you.
So I think there are a few issues that actually come with hindrance for organising events, and for me this relates to my manifesto point 2, control. There's been a few issues I found as being secretary for MathSop this year, where things like approving products, this year we now have to approve products, get them approved by higher authority in the SU before they go live. This can make the sales of products and tickets be delayed and then push back deadlines, and sometimes you've got to get things in for certain times. So I find that can be a hindrance. So part of what I want to do is sort of change that, or if there's any possibility for more flexibility, so we can have products on there for longer, on there sooner, so societies are able to start to sell their tickets straight away. Another thing I want to do as part of Society Executive Committee, one of the issues is the special grant system. I think it's a good system that we've got. However, the amount of money given towards special grants, the overall budget, has not increased for a few years now. And things like the cost of living crisis that we've got, for example, that's made everything a lot more expensive, whereas that budget still stayed the same. So I would love to lobby for more budget for the special grant to help give that straight back into societies to help them fund their activities, as I think one of the big issues right now is funding, and everyone's struggling with money. We saw this year the participation bursary scheme, very successful scheme. I applied myself as a commuting student, helped me get access to other societies that I wouldn't be able to be a part of if it wasn't for that, but it unfortunately ran out of money because of the demand for it and the need for it. So being able to increase that budget for special grants, I hope just makes it more accessible for students who are struggling, and there are a lot of students struggling at the minute. So yeah, there's a few hindrances, but yes.
I think a big hindrance can be communication with NUSU, because I think a lot of the time, especially if you're a young starting society, a big issue can be that you're not really sure the best way to get your risk assessments done or whatever. And I think the new website has definitely also put in these barriers where there's more and more things that, that's fine, not understanding. So I'd very much put your committee training available onto your student dashboard at any point you need, so you can continually go back and check what's been said, because if it's only administered once or twice a year, you're 4 months out of that and you've just forgotten because you've got your head full of exams. It could be difficult to then remember the proper processes, and then you end up possibly carrying out a unsafe event or a non-inclusive event just entirely on accident because these things aren't fresh in your mind.
Okay. I think the biggest hindrance is that sometimes when we organize some activities, somebody don't know where can I book this activity. We're not. We sometimes the social media answer with the email, the Outlook. Sometimes I leave it. Sometimes they're very shy. don't know where can I book the activities. From my school, I sometimes org workshop. Sometimes it's at the canvas, and more is very hindrance is some students don't know where can I get this activity, where can I book these activities. It's more engage students some the multilingualism and a different diversity student to engage, because some students don't know where can I get it, where can I book it, whoa, what's that? It's a big issue. So as for me, if I was an activity officer, I will to big long great preparation for this activity for at least 1 month, because I will invite my colleague like the student media and the international student officer collaborate with that and the social media and post it everywhere, and suppose the Instagram or anywhere something engage some student to engage our students activities more charming, engage those students to come us, just join us, don't be shy. That is the main idea for the activity officer. That's it.
I mean, I feel like all of the other candidates have pointed out some very valuable points, which I would also have brought up. Like, obviously, with the cost of living crisis, we have a lot of monetary issue that budgets often don't cover. A lot of the time, bursaries aren't very easily accessible to students, or as easily as they should be. And again, like, the budgets have stayed the same, while as the cost of living has become so much worse. But I don't want to, because everyone's talked about that, I don't want to get too much into that. And also, like, yes, the miscommunication with activities sometimes in between societies and not being able to get a message across properly. So it would be like for the best to sort of work with all of the other sabbatical officers to work through, like, through student media, advertising societies more widely and letting students know that, like, that engagement with societies is still important to their time at university, and they need to be aware that it is past their academic expectations. Like, their time here is more than that, and they should feel free. And so I feel like a lot of students, a lot of people that I've talked to, not only don't join societies for money or because they feel like they're withdrawn from it, but they feel withdrawn from it because they feel there's so much academic pressure and otherwise pressures. So not only do societies need to be more widely advertised, but they need to be, like the NCL Plus Award, sort of students need to be incentivized to join and be aware that that will not only help them in their personal development, but in their academic development as well.
Well, lucky us, we've got loads of international students amongst us, because the next question is, students from different countries can sometimes feel excluded because of cultural and language differences. How do you think you can tackle this issue and make societies or activities more inclusive and accessible? I really want to hear the answers, because we've got international students, and I think we can come up with some really good and reasonable answers. So, Alex, would you like to start?
I'd like to say that, first of all, societies are by themselves a great way to connect. Like, myself being a third language English speaker and not knowing that much about the culture, like coming to university and meeting so many friends through societies is what sort of helped me integrate myself into not only uni life, but into the UK in general. And I think that not just like helping the accessibility of societies, but again, promoting them to students and sort of making students aware of the benefits of being involved in activities in university aside from what you're expected to do academically. But through that, again, it's the making it accessible, so bigger budgets and better guidelines for example, in welfare training, if there was better training and student engagement through training to understand other students. I feel like a lot of students get the basics of training, which is just like, don't let your friends get too drunk and die and things like that. Whereas there's a lot more to it, you know, be social, be open to connecting people. How do you have someone who's shy come out of their shell when they're in your society? I feel like that's an important part of the training that needs to be addressed. And general activities like the Festival of Culture, for example, are a great way to integrate societies and activities into uni life and allow international students to get a better sense of it.
Thank you. That's a very good question. As for me, sometimes in Newcastle have the different students from different backgrounds. Like for me, I'm Chinese. The reason I organized the workshops is the topic is how to face the multilingualism, the situation. This activity is, but because in our school, also have the module in the CCC is cross-cultural communication. It's because I'm specialized in language, because sometimes different background language speakers, although some of them from India, Italy, Chinese, Korea, and some different language speakers of the country, sometimes we do face the situations, sometimes the conflict. That's true, but the most important we should how to solve, how to face the situation. As an active officer, we should organize more colorful and meaningful the activity, diversities perspective to engage some students, to collaborate, to face the one perspective ideas from the one issues. So discuss and communicate with different background students can only get feel better. As for me, sometimes when I first in the Newcastle, I'm very homesick, to be honest. But every day I take the class. After I will take the cope and take a break after the lunch, the milk deal. The stuff very nice. Help me. Oh, honey is very cheap. So give me a suggestion. Very nice. Sometimes it's our student unit have some free food for some students in need. Sometimes it's very moved for this very good actions event for us, for different background students, because we only need this situation can help us can feel better because we are international students. So this is very meaningful questions. So we should organize more activities to engage diversity students to come in and engage this activity. Thank you.
So I feel like my answer is probably not going to be as good as a few of the other ones as not an international student. But I think it can be quite interesting because at SOCSOC we have a relatively large proportion of international students. I don't know why they've joined, but they seem to enjoy themselves. And I remember at the Refreshers Fair having a talk with someone who was just over for the semester from Germany when they said, I don't really know what this is. I don't know what's going on. We don't have this at Germany. And I think it's the idea that I don't know every university in the world, but I think societies themselves are relatively UK based. They don't have them in a lot of other places. And I think a great idea would be to explain that and have more explanation. Come to the societies fair, as opposed to this is what a society is, this is what you can get from the society. And have that be promoted wider to more people so they can sort of get more of a feel as opposed to just having to feel it out themselves. That's pretty much it.
So yeah, some really, really good answers. Something that I want to introduce because as someone who is also UK based, so not an international student, coming into an area, I can't imagine how it must feel to be in a new country, a new place, something I'll never really understand unless I leave this country. So hats off to all international students. You are doing a great job in a very unfamiliar environment. Society-wise, it can be daunting coming into something that you aren't really aware of, not really sure. You've got some name for it, but you aren't too sure what it is always. Something I want to introduce is social sec training, because I think a big part of societies, not all societies, but a good majority of societies do have social secs in them and run socials. And for them to know exactly how to approach different situations, how to make people included, how to increase accessibility, is something that isn't currently present. There's online videos that are sent, but I would like to mandate this. So they've got the skills and the resources to be able to function and work, to be able to tackle a situation like this or the other situations, they'll be able to deal with them as needed.
Okay, about this question, I think the first thing we should notice that we shouldn't not be fair of the different culture. Oppositely, we should emphasize the different culture, and we should hold more activities about them. For example, we can support more societies about the different culture and support more new cultures of the society. Secondly, as I mentioned before, I said we should provide the relevant training for the staffs and students. Now I think we should also offering some training for them, but it's a little different. It should be about culture. So in this way, we can know how to behave in different culture. This can really avoid the prejudice. And finally, I think we can hold more themes activities to involve more different cultures, not only the students but also the staff to come in, so they can really enjoy the different culture and to behave better in the future. Thank you.
To be honest, as an international student, I also feel the same, especially when I first came to this city, this country. And that's why I add this in my manifesto, that I want to add more activities about different culture and countries. And here are 3 kinds of activities I want to add. The first kind is, as I say, which I attended last semester, the language partner activity, because I think most of one of the things that most international students want to get is the language, the English. They want to speak fluent English here, and there are also many British students. They want to learn other language, so I think this is a good chance for different students from different countries to get in touch with each other. The second kind of activities I want to add is like, for example, the World Food Festival. It sounds simple, but imagine when you live in another country and when you after a long time you come back home, the first thing you do is to eat what your parents cooked for you. I think food is a
Jade,
good
I'm
connection.
sorry, I'm really sorry to interrupt, but can you please wind up?
Okay.
We're just running short
And
on
the
time.
and third is the activities about different countries' festival. When they can't go home, they can spend the biggest festival in their country here, so that they won't feel homesick. Thank you.
Okay, lovely. All unique and brilliant answers, and I personally do endorse the food bit a lot. The next question, I think we've all touched upon this quite a bit in the previous answers. So the next question is, with rising cost of living crisis, do you think it is fair to ask students to pay for a ticket for society activities or some socials, keeping in mind that societies require funds as well? So Jade, would you like to start?
I'm facing the same problems, the rising living crisis. So, as a student, I may think that there should be more activities that we don't need to pay any fees, but another thing is we can get funding from the students' union. So we may need to make more efforts to get more funding from the students' union, and also add more activities that we don't need to pay.
All right, thank you. I request everyone to keep it very short, please, because you've got a lot of questions.
Okay, so for me, I think as the activity officer, we should be responsible for take more free and cheap activities for students. So I think we can strive for more fundings and to make sure the activities can be accessible for everyone. I think we can control the price under the reasonable price. For example, under £5 or £10, like this. In this way, we can not only bring more students to come in, but also can make sure that activities is fun.
I do think it varies society to society. Different societies have very different needs in what they do. For example, 20 Minute, you have the £10 membership, and every social you attend to is included in that, minus a couple more expensive socials like the Winter and Summer Ball, for example. But there are others, for example, MathSoc, who will charge for things because they have a lower membership price. So I think there is a fine balance, and it kind of relates to what I said, I think, in the 2 questions ago, where I was like, if we can lobby for more special grants, societies can apply for that. It's a very well requested thing currently. And I won't keep this too long, but I think there's a fine balance between charging members and not charging members, and it just depends on society needs. And if we can increase things like the special grant, I think we can increase the accessibility quite a bit there.
It's the impossible cost of living crisis question, isn't it? It's I can't afford anything, but neither can the societies because there's no money anywhere. But I think it's the idea that societies should be lobbied and encouraged to keep their costs down as much as possible. There's obviously always going to be certain events like the winter and summer balls that will need to be paid for, but as if every society could basically be as frugal as possible, not in terms of taking the events, but in terms of the supply and in terms of the cost to their own members, and then any funding from the union itself could be increased as much as possible.
Thank you. I do think the students should pay the ticket for the society. As for me, I also attend the society, tiny society, almost under 20 pounds. 20 pounds just almost for 1 year. If you go outside attend the social events, so 20 pounds, what do you do? So it's kind of enough for anything. So if you want to, because in the society, I go to the tiny society, I don't need anything. I just go there, just okay. The rocket, the ball is provided. So the society should run out, and should the president and the secretary should run out the society and support basic the expenditure. It's not for anyone. So the ticket is support the how to run more effectively and not for anyone. So the students should pay some money. But you know, in the other student union has the funding and the free food for other students. And this is enough. So this is in the, if you want to attend a society, basically you should pay some money. But it's not enough. Just 20 pounds is so cheap, right? I think so.
I mean, I think it's expected that we will pay for society memberships and also for some events, but I think it would be wise if societies were incentivized to provide more free events and generally make themselves more economically accessible to students. And it's ways through like the Earn Your Stars award or things we have like that sort of thing. So with the Earn Your Stars awards, for example, you get like monetary, I've got a word that I want to say, but it just got stuck in my, basically you get paid for being more accessible and more inclusive. So if we provide more incentives such as that, where societies have more free events or larger scale events or more collaborations, and they have a monetary incentive, then it's a win-win because societies would be able to fund those events and students would be able to attend to those events for free. So, yes.
Okay, lovely. Very quick with this one. What steps will you take to actively encourage and facilitate increased collaborations between societies? Alex, we'll start with you.
Definitely, first of all, to allow for more publicity for societies. I feel like the more student engagement you have, the more likely that collabs will happen. If one student is involved in multiple societies, it's more likely that those societies will be involved with each other. So reaching out to the student media officer and allowing societies to advertise through student media to students and other societies, and also again providing financial incentives or other such incentives to collaborate with other societies and improve accessibility and general points.
I think it's a good questions. As for me, how to collaborate with the society. We are the 180 societies. So sometimes if, as for example, if the social Chinese society want to organize a competition, the first begun the competition, we can invite the other society like the student, the other society. For example, need some student media, and welfare and equality officer to some need help and need some the rewards. And we want social media posters everywhere, engage some student to include us into the competition. And only in this way can collaborate with other societies, because we had more than 180 societies, too much. Only in this way can collaborate with each other. That's it.
I think I would act as a personal liaison between anyone in a society wishing to collab. You know, if they have no idea who they want to collab with, they can just be like, hey, I'd like to collab. And I'm like, well, funnily enough, so do those guys. So why don't you go and meet over there? There's also, I think, the fact that a lot of collaborations are bred at the Freshers and the Refreshers Fair, because obviously it's where everyone is, and they're like, I like that society. I could feel like we could do something with that. So possibly some sort of society meetup that isn't necessarily even for members, but it's for the committee, so they can meet each other and breed collaborations in those areas.
Yeah, I will agree. At the Freshers Fair and the Refreshers Fair, as I went round all the tables, I was like, oh, you'll be fun to do a collab, you'll be fun, I'll note you down. So I've done loads of collabs with different societies, and I really think it's a really great way for societies to promote both societies as well as work together and achieve some really, really good stuff. A lot of collaborations do actually happen already. So I think there's already a good drive for it, but there are maybe smaller societies aren't as aware of what they want to do, how the approach is. So that I want to introduce is almost like a digital pinboard system. So you can put up what you want to do, who you want to go with, and then sort of match make different societies with each other.
Okay, this question is just about my manifesto. I said I want to strengthen the links between the societies. And for this, I do have some actual imagination of it. For example, I think we can hold some school festivals, like what in Japan. The 180 societies in our school, in our university, can gather together to hold a big activities, and every society should have a store. The members of them can dress like in their style, and they hold some themes games in the style. And I think we can send a map to every student. Like the Comic-Con, and every student can use this map to go to the store and get some how to say it, like stamp collecting, you know. And about the sports societies, I think we can hold a Neuro sports meeting, and maybe not just the sports meeting. We can hold some interesting sports meeting, so that other societies can also involve in, and everyone can join it, and not the athletics. Thank you.
So not only I think there should be more cross societies activities. I think the organizers of different society, also the members, they also should support each other. Like for this society, they start a society, but an activity, but they don't have enough staff. Maybe other societies can help them, and also they can start from each other's experiences to improve their societies.
Thank you. If elected, how would you plan to utilize the roles of other sabbatical officers to increase the success of your own work? Alex?
I'm going to take them through one by one, but I'm going to try to be quick. So with the welfare officer, obviously, one of my manifesto points as well is to improve welfare training in societies. Having been through it myself through societies and clubs, it's not the best training. So I do think there needs to be a lot more engagement with students in the sense that you ask students for feedback to know what they need to be trained in. I feel like a lot of students are a lot more socially aware than we make them out to be. And I feel like we should take that into account and give them the welfare training that they need and that they would ask for. With the athletics union, definitely promote more collaborations between societies and sports clubs. Having done a few myself, it's a great way to get like more people involved in both clubs and societies. With the education officer, to attempt to lessen academic stress through using societies to allow students to be more expressive and creative in joining societies and doing the things they enjoy, and being aware that that counts towards like the NCL Plus award and towards their academic record past just studying. With the student media officer, to advertise societies and activities more widely and work together, and also it would be a good way to get student feedback. I'm aware that the student media recently did sort of spread with sports and got a lot more feedback using like the athletics union officer and getting feedback from people in sports. So it would be a great way to get more feedback from the student body in general by using student media. With the postgraduate officer, of course, get the message to postgraduate students that they are still encouraged to participate in activities and be involved in societies. They might feel a bit more alienated than undergraduate students and also feel that they have a lot of academic stress, so that would be great. And lastly, with the
Alex, I'm
president,
so sorry, but due to paucity of time, we have to cover everyone.
to generally discuss feedback from the students to improve the union as a whole.
Thank you. Good points. I think so. I think a good point is the communication and the respect for different voices. Because when I organize some of the activities or some of the events, I think they do have some good feedback or bad feedback. We should listen to the different voices. Only in this way can we improve. Sometimes I will ask some of the social media officer and education officer to record some of the feedback online. So in this way can get improve. And then we need some students what they need. Maybe some the costing, living, or some others mental health. I will ask other colleagues to support them. Only in this way can make the activity or the engagements meaningful. That's it.
I'll keep it nice and quick because I don't want to be shouted at. But I would use the welfare and equality officer as well as the disability officer, which I know isn't technically a SAB, but I think they've also got a very important role to, like Alex said, make sure that the training for welfare officers is up to scratch and up to date, as well as all of the things for the Earn Your Stars campaign, just to make sure that that is as inclusive as possible. And I would also use the student media officer to celebrate society successes, particularly around sort of charity events, because I think there's a lot of charitable work that goes sort of almost unnoticed because only people within the society knows it's happened. I think it could be using sort of the Courier and NSR and everything to celebrate what's been going on and what the society's been doing would be a fantastic way to get that message out there.
I'll also keep this quite quick, probably a few repetitive answers, but yeah, would love to work with the AU officer as collaboration, as we spoke about in the last question. Clubs and societies do go hand in hand. There's a lot of similarities behind them, and working together can achieve some really great things. Working with the welfare officer, as mentioned before, with the social set training, trying to bring a better training together so it's ready for the knowledge they need. And I also mentioned student media officer. I really want to introduce Society of the Week, inspired by the current Club of the Week that the AU office is currently doing now. Put it in the career, and there's plenty there. Advertise it. Yeah, short and sweet.
Okay, for me, first I will work more with the welfare and the equality officer, like my manifesto said, because I will concentrate more on the students' mental health and seeking larger budget for it. And secondly, I will concentrate more on the welfare. I know we already have a patrol in our student union, and my friend and I, however, went to it and get something. And I think it can be improved because at first there are so many things in there, but later it's empty and it only have some basic things. And my friend told me that she went to there 3 times and she want to get some laundry powder, but the basket is just empty, and she have to go to the supermarket buy it, pay by herself. So I think the pantry should be improved, and the items should be increased, and it should be updated more often. Thank you.
I want to take postgraduate officer as an example. So for many postgraduate students, they may feel a little bit exclusive feel a little bit exclusive because they don't have that many classes in the campus, or they don't have that many classmates. So I want to get in touch with a postgraduate officer and know what postgraduate students want, what they expect, what activities they are accept for, so we can add more activities for them. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Unfortunately, we're running low on time, so I'm going to move on to the individual questions now, which are given by the audience. So there's a question for Ethan. You say you want to give societies more authority, but how? Societies are to abide by a set of rules governed by NUSU, who are to abide by strict laws. How can you give societies more authority without becoming independent for NUSU?
Yeah, really good question. So there are quite a few aspects, and when I put out my point on my Instagram about control, people didn't expect it to be quite as sort of dictatorship as what it sounded like. Maybe the wrong choice of word, but I still think it fitted quite well. One of the areas, as I mentioned before, is sort of making sort of the streamlined service for executive committee to put on products onto NUSU a bit easier, a bit clearer, so they're able to do what they need to do. There are a couple others, and they've just gone from the top of my head. I'm going to quickly, no, I won't check that. Yeah, it's gone from the top of my head.
Thanks, Ethan. For Alex, your manifesto focuses significantly on welfare, which is great. But can you please expand on some ideas specific to the growth and development of societies?
I did also mention in my manifesto past welfare, the idea of society spotlights. I don't know if that's what it means, like about the growth of societies. I'll go a bit over welfare. So I think that generally from welfare training, we can really like expand and grow societies, because it is a chance for like multiple like core members, exec members of societies to be in a room together, to not only be trained but to interact with each other and to network with each other. And so it gives grounds to not only improve themselves and their societies, but further on collaborate, and getting feedback from students, from society execs, from training will allow the students' union to not only like give them better support that they require, that they want on welfare needs and accessibility, but also like give them the chance to get to know each other in societies. And then further, my point about the society spotlights, which was about similar to Ethan's point, which highlighting society of the week, mine would be like society of the month, but allow them to do a large scale event to prove that they are accessible and inclusive like to all students. Sorry.
For Jade, can you please explain how you would help societies to succeed in their day-to-day running and event planning?
If elected as an activities officer, I want to attend those activities by myself to feel how the activity is going and how as a participant, how I will feel about this activity, so I can get the direct feedback and to tell the organizer to help them to get improved.
For Yanin, you say you will provide societies with the support they need, but can you please expand on what support you think this is?
Okay, this is a good question. Some support needs. When it because 180 societies, so many maybe some they face the situation, face the issues. If you want to, I support you. But for me, I thought it's not enough. Maybe if they need something, I can collaborate with my college, with the international students officer, education officer, maybe it's the social media officer. It's only because student unions is a big family. We should collaborate to make them powerful. Sometimes it's so successful. For example, society, I will need some funding. I support you running a society. I think I collaborate and discuss with my colleagues and welfare officer. Maybe someday, if it's possible, if it's reasonable, maybe I can interest funding for them. But it depends on what they need. It's reasonable, we can, but it's not. I very fast. That's it.
Dan, this question is for you. Whilst SOC has proven itself as a successful society, it would be wrong to not admit that it did not start as a joke society. Can you please explain how you would deal with the more serious issues that societies face?
Yeah, I think what yeah, wow, that's throwing me. No, I think what SOC has done quite well this year, not to toot my own horn, is that transition between a joke to just a genuine, serious society. We put on activities and events for our members, just like any other society. And I think the transition not just for Sock, it also happened with me in the fact that I bucked up a little bit and decided to, maybe I should actually run the society properly as opposed to just running about making jokes of everything. So I think, what was the question?
That's fine.
The last bit.
Okay, can you please explain how you would deal with the more serious issues that societies face?
I think that's a very broad question. I feel like I've only got like 30 seconds to speak, but I feel like to explain how I would personally do it is I have dealt with quite a few serious issues within Sock. It's been not the easiest to not get off the ground in terms of just first off actually becoming a society and dealing with the union and walking through the hoops that they made us walk through, which fair enough. I'd make us run through hoops. We're annoying, but I think that's given me this almost resilience to get my vision seen and power through any difficult challenges that come up as activities officer.
Lovely. This question's for you, Yancy. You mentioned that you want to introduce more activities in Freshers Week. However, NUSU employs Freshers Week organizers for this. How will you ensure that you do not step on their toes whilst aiding with the organization of these events?
I'm sorry, can I beg your
Yeah,
pardon?
don't worry, I'll go slow. You mentioned that you want to introduce more activities in Freshers Week. However, the student union employs Freshers Week organizers for this. So how will you ensure that you do not step on their toes when aiding with the organization of these events?
I know I don't directly responsible for the Fresh Week, but in my scope of work, I really relevant of it. So I think maybe I can give them suggestions, and I will give some, as a activity organizer, I really have some good points. I can give them my planning to give them simple and I'm sorry, to pursue them to trust me, and I really can bring something different and interesting activities.
Thank you. Do we still have some time for general? Okay, unfortunately we don't. But thank you so much for coming here tonight and investing your time into the debate. Just very short conclusive statements from everyone. Alex, we'll start with you again.
I mean, in conclusion, I love societies, I love activities, I feel I'm qualified for this, and if any of the points I made appeal to you, please do consider voting for me. You won't see any posters of me on campus because I'm running a paperless campaign for the sake of sustainability, so yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you. The very good time today is what made us all the candidates and the fellows to discuss these questions and very meaningful. I'm a little bit nervous, but anyway, thank you for everyone to support us and have a platform to discuss with the internet students. I really move for this time. Whether I can success or fail at this matter, I think it's very happy. Thank you.
I'd just like to say I very much enjoyed sort of discussing these things with you, and I very much look forward to us six battling out to the death, I think, over the next few days. If I have encouraged any of you to vote for me, that would be fantastic. But generally, if you want a fun and approachable activities officer that will make your societies inclusive, interconnected, and charitable, as well as just easier to run, then Dan's your man.
Yeah, first of all, thank you, student media team, for this week and everything you've done. It's been really, really good, really, really smooth. Really enjoyed myself. Good luck to all the other candidates. Enjoyed the debate tonight. If you want any more details, you can see my manifesto on NUSU or on my Instagram. And if you have any questions, fire them away. And yeah, vote number 1 for Ethan. Thank you.
Okay, it's my pleasure to sit here to talk about my manifesto today. And there's a proverb goes in our country. Sincerity can only be exchanged for sincerity. So maybe my language is poor and my promise is poor, but I prefer to prove myself in action. And next, I want to thank the student union to give us this opportunity. But most importantly, I want to thank all my friends who supported me on this journey. To be honest, till now, I'm still really nervous, but that's my friends supported me, and it's their help and support to keep me going and give me strength. And some of them maybe they are sitting in front of the screen. I want to thank you. And some of them are just under the stage. I really love you guys. And finally, I think if you are expecting fresher and interesting activities, and you think I'm the right person for this job, please vote Yangtze #1 from the March 6th. Thank you all.
Hi, it's Jade again. Thank you all for coming today, and I'm really happy to get this chance to share more details about my manifesto and also let you know more about me. Also, if you if you have any question or want to know more, feel free to contact me with through my Instagram. This is a wonderful university, but it's still on its way up. I know it's not only me. Everyone is trying their best to make this university a better place. So I feel lucky to study here. I hope you feel the same. And also, if you can vote for me, that will be the best. Finally, I want to end with a traditional Chinese blessing. 祝大家身体健康，万事如意。Wish you all good health and good luck. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you all had fun whilst debating and as the audience. And good night. I'm going to hand over the mic to Maria now. Thank you.
For the sake of time.